Hi, and welcome to this week's show, Podium 029. And I want to talk about sports coaching. This morning, I was just fussing my cat and just giving her a really lovely stroke. And I kind of got to her belly, and then there was this reaction from her, and it was, oh, no, don't go there. You know, cats like to be stroked around their ears and their necks. And it really reminded me of kind of where I want to go with this week's topic, because it is, or it could be said to be controversial. So how much influence do coaches really have over an athlete's performance? So let's go deeper together, because this is an area that I've been really curious about throughout my entire career, and I would have spent over 20 years involved in performance sport and looking at the intricacies of how it is that athletes adapt and the area of skill acquisition and how long does it take athletes to see a pattern or perfect a skill or be able to use that skill in a competitive situation. And it wasn't until I left my role as national coach and came across this understanding that I talk about on these podcast shows, and that is the 3 principles behind the human experience. And they just point to something really special. And for me, I love when Mara Gleason, author of One Thought Changes Everything, says that it's our superpower. We take the power back when we start to understand where our experience is coming from. So what are the implications then of an inside-out understanding of how life works, so how the mind really works to create experience? And it's shocking to me, actually, that I can see throughout my career that I spent so long trying to influence an athlete's performance. I spent hours trying to help them to cope with their mental life. And the way I was doing it was setting up environments, for sure, to help them to see it for themselves, but I was still giving advice. And I can see that none of those things actually are helpful. And this is where it might sound controversial, because here's a few things for you to consider. Can you really put a thought in somebody else's head? Can you really know and feel what they are feeling? Can you really help someone not to engage in their thinking? You are on the outside as a coach of their experience as a human being. So where are these thoughts that ping from you to them? And the truth is, there aren't any. There isn't a mechanism for that to happen. It's not actually how it works. It just looks like that's how it works. And it's fascinating to me that we coaches, and me too, would have our ego feathers all fluffed up when things go really well with an athlete's performance, as if we have had any influence over that. And it looks like we do because, of course, people learn, but actually when we really look at it, human performance comes from the inside. It comes through us. And there is this divine intelligence which manifests itself in the forms of thought. And we bring those thoughts to life, and it creates a feeling in us via our consciousness. And that allows for a response and a behaviour. And it's a closed circuit. And when we start to really see that, then it takes coaching to a much more evolved level. Because then if we cannot actually influence human performance, then what is it that we are doing? What is it that we should be trying to do? Because there's a massive industry for sports coaching. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that we're redundant. No, I'm suggesting that it takes on a completely new dynamic of helping athletes, supporting athletes, being with athletes, sharing with athletes in a whole new way, which, instead of trying to influence them, we're simply drawing out the performance. On some level, we really already know this, because think of a time when your athletes have not performed. They've just done everything at training and they're ready for competition and they've just simply not performed. And coaches just go about scratching their head. They get frustrated. Why are they not doing what we did at training? How come they have not been able to transfer their training skills to the performance arena? And we can see that there's something else going on here. And likewise, how many times have your athletes absolutely smashed it out of the park and you are standing there equally with your fingers, like in amazement, scratching your head, like, where did that come from? Like, they didn't have any signs of that performance at training, and yet they have completely excelled. There's something else going on here. And I really encourage you to look in this direction. Imagine a world where coaches and athletes work together in harmony and synchronicity about the human performance, about what is going to manifest through their bodies, without any attachment to the outcome or how much influence the coach supposedly has on the athlete. What if they absolutely knew that they could not influence really and truly the character and the personality and the quality of the performance that comes through the athlete? Like, how much freedom can you feel that there is in coaching when coaches are not invested in that way? When the athletes perform, it's great, there's euphoria, but it's not personal. And when they underperform and underachieve, it's not personal. So living minutes are not wasted in low levels of psychological functioning. You can immediately get on with the next inspiration, knowing, deeply, insightfully knowing that performance, the energy of performance, ebbs and flows. And that there will be times when the ball will not go in the basket. The golf ball will catch a blade of grass on the way in and won't go into the hole, no matter how perfect the shot. And so for me, just to summarize, it takes coaches away from trying to fix and trying to manipulate performance, manipulate something that actually is natural to a human being. But not in a forced way, not in a manufactured way. Yes, I agree there are skills for us to hone and fine tune. But you know what? Where do they come from? How do we get to have the skills that we have? It's certainly not by somebody else telling us and advising us. We still have to get thoughts that coming from this divine intelligence that give us a feeling, that give us a response. It doesn't come from what the coach says. It doesn't work that way. Those thoughts are not transferable. And so this subject is something I'm going to be speaking about for the next few shows. And today we've really looked at the difference between influencing an athlete's performance and simply helping them to be in the moment, draw it out, help it to manifest in the moment. Well, I'm sure you can feel my passion and inspiration for this subject, because I can see that coaches and athletes can have a much easier and more peaceful, enjoyable and fulfilling time when they start to look in the direction of how the human mind really works. And so if you would like to know more about this subject, then you can look on my website on www.class-performance.com, or you can just send me an email on denise.holland@class-performance.com. I would love to hear from you. And that just leaves me to say thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.